Picture this. Your friend is walking next to you. Their foot catches on something they didn't see. They go down right in front of you. What's the first thing your body does? You don't think about it. You don't decide anything. Your body beats you to it. You laugh. Not because you want to, not because you chose to. The laugh just comes out on its own. And a second later, you feel guilty and ask, "Are you okay?" But the laugh already happened. You heard it. You heard yourself. And you've been asking ever since, "Why did I laugh? Am I a bad person?" But the real answer is much stranger than that. That laugh isn't proof that you're cruel. That laugh is older than language itself, older than any word you've ever spoken. And to understand why you laugh when someone falls in front of you, you have to go back much further than you think. Not years, millions of years. Let's start with a simple question. What does laughter actually do? What is it for? Think about it for a second and you'll notice something strange. Laughter doesn't help you eat. It doesn't help you run faster. It doesn't keep you warm. So why did the human body evolve this movement at all? A researcher named Robert Provine spent years watching people laugh in ordinary places, on the street, in cafes, anywhere people gathered, and he noticed something odd. People laugh together far more than they laugh alone, which means laughter isn't mainly a reaction to something funny. Laughter is a message, a signal sent from one body to another. It says, "You're safe with me. There is no danger here." Let's go back to Provine for a moment. He didn't just notice that people laugh together more than alone. He noticed something even stranger. Most laughter in everyday life comes after completely ordinary sentences, not jokes. Things like, "See you later," or "Okay then." Which means laughter isn't primarily a response to something humorous. Laughter is primarily a social tool, one that activates in almost any small moment of tension that resolves between two people. A joke and a fall and a surprise are just different shapes of the same moment, a moment of tension that suddenly releases. Which brings us to an important point. Before we had language, how did we reassure each other? How did your earliest ancestor living in a cave or an open camp know that the person next to him was a friend and not a threat? He needed a signal, a fast one, a signal that didn't require words. Laughter was that signal. Picture the scene. A small group of early humans walking together across open ground. Danger was a constant part of every moment of their day. A predator could appear without warning. A strange sound could be the start of an attack. Any sudden movement or noise made the whole group freeze and assess before moving again. The human body in that moment lived in a state of near constant alertness. Now imagine one of them trips on a rock and falls. In a fraction of a second, the whole body has to answer two questions. Is this real danger? Should I run right now? If the person who fell is actually hurt, there's no laughter, there's concern, there's a quick move to help. But if the person just stumbled and there's no danger, the body sends the opposite signal, a signal that tells the whole group, "Relax, this is over, there's no threat here." That signal had to be fast and unmistakable and required no thinking at all, because any delay in calming the group down would cost them attention and energy they needed for other things. Imagine if every time someone tripped, the whole group stayed tense for minutes until they could confirm verbally that the person was fine. That would have burned precious time and mental energy in an environment where danger was real and constant. The evolutionary solution was simpler and much faster, a short, contagious sound that reached everyone nearby in the same instant and delivered the whole message without anyone needing to think it through. That laugh, the one you felt guilty about, is actually a very old, very powerful alarm system running in reverse. It tells the whole group, at the exact same moment, we're still okay. And here's the part that flips everything. Laughter wasn't invented by humans. A researcher named Jaak Panksepp studied rats and found something startling. Rats make a specific sound while they play with each other, a sound we can't hear because it's at a frequency too high for human ears. But when Panksepp recorded it and analyzed the pattern, he found it looked remarkably similar to the laughter of children at play, which means laughter isn't a purely human invention. Laughter is part of a much older system, one that exists in other animals too, tied to play and social safety. And it's not just rats. Watch a chimpanzee playing or being tickled by another chimp, and you'll hear a repeated sound close to rapid panting. Researchers who studied great ape behavior noticed that this sound appears under exactly the same conditions that produce human laughter: safe play, harmless contact, mild tension that resolves quickly, which means this root exists before we ever had language, before we had fire, before we had stone tools. Laughter came first. So what happened between your earliest ancestor and today? That old signal expanded. It stopped being only about physical falls. It became about any situation where tension builds and then suddenly releases. A joke, a surprise, even an awkward moment. All of them share the same structure. Tension rises and then quickly dissolves, and laughter shows up as the announcement that everything is fine. But why specifically do we laugh at someone else falling and not just at any resolved tension? Here we need to talk about something called relative superiority. Since the philosopher Thomas Hobbes, people have noted that part of our laughter is tied to a sudden, fleeting sense of superiority. When you see someone fall and you're still standing, a small part of your brain registers, "I'm still upright. I'm still fine." That feeling isn't a moral failing. It's a leftover from an ancient system that constantly tracked your position within the group. Who's strong? Who needs help? Who might be a threat? Who is safely no threat at all? There's also a small experiment you can try yourself to confirm this. Try tickling yourself. You won't laugh. Have someone else tickle you. You'll laugh almost instantly, even if you knew the touch was coming. Why the difference? Because a touch from yourself carries no element of surprise or threat that needs assessing. Your brain already knows the source. But when someone else touches you unexpectedly in a sensitive spot, like your side or your neck, your brain has to quickly evaluate the situation. Is this an attack or is this play? And if it decides it's safe play, laughter comes out immediately as the announcement that the evaluation is complete and the answer is safe. The same logic explains why we laugh in horror movies right after a jump scare. Someone leaps out from behind a door, you flinch, you scream, and right after, you laugh. Not because the moment suddenly became funny, because your body was in a state of peak alertness, and the instant it realized the danger wasn't real, it needed to release that built-up energy fast. Laughter was the nearest tool available, and there are more recent studies too, like the work done by German researcher Sabine Schadwinkel on Schadenfreude, the pleasure people sometimes feel at someone else's misfortune, which found that this feeling activates a brain region linked to reward, not a region linked to cruelty. Which means your body isn't celebrating the other person's pain. Your body is celebrating its own safety. And that connects to another ancient system in the brain, one that constantly monitors your position within the group. Who's strong? Who needs protection? Who might threaten you? Who poses you no danger at all? This system was running constantly throughout your earliest ancestor's life because his survival depended on knowing exactly where he stood among the people around him. When he saw someone fall, his brain assessed the situation in a fraction of a second. Not a threat to me. Not danger. I'm actually in a slightly better position right now. And the laugh was simply the body's way of releasing that assessment quickly, without needing conscious thought at all. Which brings us to the reversal you've been waiting for. We assume that laughing at someone falling in front of us says something ugly about who we are. But the truth is that this laugh was originally a tool of solidarity. It was a way of telling the group, it's over, the danger has passed. It was the body's way of calming an entire group without saying a single word. So why do we feel guilty afterward? Here's where something completely different comes in. Late developing social awareness. Language and culture taught us that laughing at someone else's pain is inappropriate. So now you have a collision. A very old biological reflex fires in under a second, and a cultural rule you learned as a child activates a few seconds later. The laugh comes out first, and the guilt follows right behind it, which means you're not a cruel person. You're a body with two layers arguing with each other. One layer, ancient beyond measure, trying to reassure the group. Another layer, recent, trying to uphold the rules of empathy we've learned as civilized humans. There's something else worth pausing on here. Have you noticed that children laugh far more easily than adults? Same system, but the social layer trying to suppress it hasn't fully formed yet. A child sees their friend fall and laughs without any filter because they don't yet carry the idea that this laugh requires an apology afterward. That's not because children are crueler than adults. It's because they're closer to this ancient system without cultural layers stacked on top of it. And as we grow older, we learn to delay that reaction or hide it or instantly convert it into a question like, "Are you okay?" But the system itself stays exactly the same. It's millions of years old, and it will keep running inside us for as long as humans walk on two legs and live in groups, which isn't changing anytime soon. And there's something else worth noticing too. Laughter doesn't just calm the people who witness the moment. Often, it calms the person who fell as well. Think about the last time you tripped in front of people. Chances are, the first thing you did was laugh too. That laugh isn't just embarrassment, it's a signal you're sending back to the group, saying, "I'm fine, don't worry," which means the entire sequence, from the fall to the laugh to the apology, is a complete social conversation happening in under 5 seconds without anyone realizing they were even communicating at all. Now think about your everyday life. How many times today did a laugh escape you before you decided to let it? A video of someone slipping on ice, a friend fumbling their words in front of a group, someone walking straight into a glass door. Every one of these moments triggers the same ancient system your earliest ancestor needed to know his group was still safe. This also explains why videos of people falling or making small mistakes spread so widely online. Not because people are naturally cruel, because these clips trigger a very old internal system in a matter of seconds. Mild tension, instantly resolved, with no real danger to the person we just watched fall. Your brain reads the whole scene as safe and rewards you with a quick sense of relief before you even have a chance to explain why you laughed at all. And think about the difference you feel when the person who fell is actually hurt. The laughter stops immediately. It turns into concern. It turns into a quick move to help. That's further proof that laughter isn't about enjoying someone else's pain. It's about a fast reading of danger level, nothing more. And now that you know why this happens, you can look at the moment completely differently. Next time you feel a laugh escape you over something small, you won't need to feel instantly guilty. You'll know that the body inside you is doing exactly what it was designed to do for millions of years. Assessing the situation, reassuring the group, and telling you that you're still okay. And maybe, instead of guilt, you can give yourself 1 extra second, make sure the person who fell is actually fine, and then laugh together. Because in that moment, you're not just laughing at a situation, you're repeating a signal older than any language humanity has ever spoken. And by the way, this also explains why shared laughter brings people close so quickly. When two people laugh together at the same moment, their bodies are sending each other that same ancient message. At the exact same time, we are safe with each other. There is no danger between us. That's one of the strongest trust-building tools humans have ever known, far older than a handshake or a spoken greeting. Ancient groups used light physical play, like mock wrestling or chasing games, as a way of building bonds between members. And laughter was always a core part of that ritual, which means every time you and a friend laugh together over something trivial, you're not just passing the time, you're performing a small version of a very old ritual, one that used to decide who you could trust and who you couldn't. So the next time your body beats you to it and laughs without your permission, don't ask yourself, "Why am I a bad person?" Ask yourself instead, "What is this signal inside me, older than any language I've ever known, telling me right now?"